The NBA putting the season on hold for now.
Conferring here prior to the start of this game. A late conference here, trying to get something worked out.
This is video that captures the confusion as word came down last night. It was a game between OKC and the Utah Jazz, and it was stopped before it could begin. The league made the move after finding out that a Utah Jazz player had tested positive for coronavirus.
Game tonight has been postponed. You are all safe.
I hope that ain't the coronavirus. And I asked one of the deputy right there. He said that was somebody was sick. I said, oh, man.
I can't be upset over them canceling a game like that. I mean, this is a severe crisis.
And it's a story with a connection to Toronto. We now know the player who tested positive played in a game Monday night against the Toronto Raptors. So, yes, that has implications for the entire roster of the Raptors, which we're going to get into. Stephen Bull joining me with the latest on this story. As I said, this is one that has stunned many, many people. We know how big the NBA, it's worth billions of dollars. It has tens of millions of fans, and that all is coming to a halt, at least for now.
Yeah, so this would not have been a decision taken lightly. Also important to point out, it's a suspension of the season at this point, not a cancellation. We will await updates on this. Of course, the player that we're talking about, though, is Rudy Gobert. He plays for the Utah Jazz. He had symptoms, kind of flu-like symptoms. So they tested him for influenza, strep throat, and upper respiratory infection. They all came back negative. So just to be safe, they did a preliminary test for COVID-19. That came back positive, and the word came down just before tip-off, as you saw. What's making this a little more of a talking point is that on Monday, before the game against the Toronto Raptors, in which Gobert played, after the shoot-around, the media availability has been at a podium with a bit of a distance. So sort of mocking the social distance thing. That's him there. You'll see him come back and touch all the microphones, sort of making light of, I'm not too worried about this. Well, as it turns out, he has tested positive for coronavirus. And now reports from a beat reporter that covers the Utah Jazz, a second player has reportedly tested positive for coronavirus. Emmanuel Mudiay, he did not play. He was scratched, not feeling well. So at least two players. The Toronto Raptors, we'll talk about them in a moment. The whole league, though, suspending their operations as of last night's game. The NBA saying, in part, that they will use this hiatus to determine the next steps for moving forward in regard to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the last team that completed a game last night with the Dallas Mavericks, and their owner, well-known, outspoken, Mark Cuban, here he is getting the news and reacting in shock. Afterwards, in his media availability, he said that he 100% agreed with what the NBA was doing.
This is not a situation where you fake it till you make it or try to sound or act important. The NBA has hired people with expertise in those areas, and they're working with people from the government. If one player, two players, whatever it is, already have it, we'll have to act accordingly, and I think the NBA made the right decision.
There was one other game that was postponed before the league-wide postponement, that being the New Orleans Pelicans and Sacramento Kings. That being because one of the referees assigned to that game had worked the Utah Jazz game earlier in the week. So out of an abundance of caution, they postponed that one. But as of now, the entire NBA season on hold. We're waiting for more updates.
What about the Raptors, as you said? Monday night they played, and lots of reports about what the players are now facing and being forced to go through. Yeah,
so there are, basketball is a very intimate sport in a way. They're, sweating on each other, bumping up against each other. So you can see how there would be concerns of, this virus spreading. If he tested positive, are the other players on the Raptors at risk? So they're in self-quarantine right now, and reportedly all being tested as well. Also worth noting, the Toronto Maple Leafs are expected to play tonight, scheduled to play tonight. They are owned by MLSE. Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment owns the Raptors and the Maple Leafs. Share a lot of the same facilities, so I imagine the Leafs will be speaking out about what possible precautions they're taking. We're also expecting to hear from the NHL itself. They tweeted last night very briefly that they were aware of the NBA statement, and they will have more today. So
today we could hear from the NHL.
Yes.
Got a statement from the National Lacrosse League as well, not as well followed, but also aware of what's going on with the NBA, and they too assessing the situation and going to make further statements as they look to their season as well. So broad ramifications potentially
Absolutely.
from this NBA decision. Stephen, thank you very much.